I had type 2 diabetes. Stick around, we're going to talk about that word had. Hello everyone, Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the proper human diet, all things related to the proper human diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to talk about, is type 2 diabetes reversible? I believe it is. I'll tell you how I did it. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for stopping by. In case you're wondering, you're basically watching me walk. 19 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day, even in the 34-degree weather of Omaha, Nebraska, in December. No excuses, I get out and walk every day. Help me get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't. And drop down in the comments and say, "Hi, Bob." All these little things that are absolutely free help get the word out that it's never too late to change your life. I'm 60 years old. I couldn't walk down to the corner and back when I was 40. Now I'm doing it every day regardless of the weather. If you're returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. It does mean an awful lot to me that you spend just a couple moments of your day with me every day. But let's talk about this type 2 diabetes thing. Now, we are talking about type 2 diabetes. I'll have some thoughts on type 1 at the end, but since I've never had that, my experience doesn't directly relate. But you have to go back in time to 1982. My dad passed of his third heart attack when he was 48 years old because he had what they called at that time sugar diabetes. For some reason they now call it type 2 diabetes instead of sugar diabetes. And I believe that changing the name of it was not such a great idea, because at that time we knew it was diabetes caused by too much sugar. Now, of course, my dad, he didn't change his diet at all. He just took the little bit of meds they gave him. Of course, there weren't a whole lot of it back then. And he was actually leaving the hospital from his second heart attack, and he keeled over in the parking lot on the way out to the car. But I think if we would continue to call it sugar diabetes or understand what it really is, we could understand better how to get rid of it. And as Dr. Berry has said many times, if we thought of type 2 diabetes as carbohydrate toxicity syndrome, perhaps we would do a better job, because that's really what it is. Type 2 diabetes is elevated blood glucose, which means you've got too much sugar in your blood. Where is it coming from? Well, it's coming from the sugar we put in our face, because our body does make glucose through gluconeogenesis. Is we're eating too much sugar. And you'll say, "Well, Bob, I don't really eat a whole lot of sugar." Well, whole grains, pasta, rice, bread, all that stuff. Anything with grains in it turns to sugar as you digest it. So anything with a carbohydrate count on it turns to sugar. So the way to get rid of type 2 diabetes is to stop eating sugar. Now, I did that. I went full carnivore 19 months ago. And I immediately saw my blood sugars start to go down. My A1C, when I was first diagnosed, was 10.3. At last check, my A1C was 4.8. And I know this sort of sounds simplified, but it really is that simple. If you just stop pouring sugar in your face, your diabetes will lessen. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody is going to have the full remission of symptoms that I have had, because I have no idea how much damage you've done to your body at this point. But even type 1s have been shown to need a lot less insulin when they reduce their carbohydrate intake. And that's the really silly part of this whole thing. Both with type 1 and type 2, when you're diagnosed, they teach you, okay, if you're an insulin dependent, they say, okay, this is how you calculate how much insulin you need based on how many carbs you had. I've never heard of a doctor that's not a keto or low carb doctor. I mean, I've heard Dr. Westman and these people talk about it, but your average everyday doctor doesn't say, well, why don't you just stop eating carbs? If you stop eating carbs, your diabetes will get better. I'm not going to say that it's going to be completely reversed. I'm not going to say that it's going to go into complete remission and you're going to be able to get off all your meds. But it did for me. And if I understand it correctly, because of the way hyperinsulinemia works in the blood, if they would check fasting insulin and see peptides, they could diagnose what they call prediabetes several years sooner than they are. Back in front of the house, I'm going to go down to the other corner there because I'm not quite done talking today. They could diagnose it a lot sooner. And the damage, even though, because they say prediabetes. Oh, you've got just a little bit of prediabetes. There's no such thing as just a little bit of prediabetes. Is it some magical number where at an A1C of 5.6, you're not doing damage to your body, but at 5.7 you are? I think we need to get rid of the term prediabetes as well, because you're either doing damage to your body or you're not. Now, I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm not going to say that everybody is going to cure their type 2 diabetes or put it into remission or however you want to say it, because there are people out there that will say, oh, well, you haven't really cured your type 2 diabetes because if you eat a bunch of sugar, it'll come right back. Well, the key to that is don't go back to eating a lot of sugar. That seems fairly simple. And for me, I was never insulin dependent. I was able to keep what the doctor called in control, taking a bunch of metformin every day. Come to find out, that's not such a great idea either. Professor K has a lot of good videos about this subject. The construct of insulin resistance, which is an actual path in the body called the Randall cycle. Go watch all of his videos on that. You'll be glad you did. Which will show you how once you stop dumping sugar down your neck, your type 2 diabetes symptoms will get better. You know, the weight loss and pain relief and all that other stuff is just a side effect of eating a proper human diet. And we'll go into more details of things that have happened to me over the last 19 months in the weeks to come. It is coming up on Christmas, which means it's New Year. Just a week after that, start making your plans now. January is World Carnivore Month. And even if you're not a full carnivore, if you're just living the ketogenic lifestyle, why don't you just go ahead and join us and just see how good you can feel by doing World Carnivore Month with us. I hope some of what I said today made sense. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.